Oh, well, hello. I hit the button too early. That's fine. We can get started right now. I was trying to right-click on a button and not do the other thing. But anyway, what's up? We can start 12 seconds early. Let me see if our audio is going good. There we go. Welcome to another live stream, and got some fun stuff planned for today. I got my wireless mic on because I'm planning to be a little bit mobile, kind of moving around. We got some fun stuff happening. I have there's a bit of a delay, and for some reason it's frozen right now, so that's cool. But I do have a camera of the room as a whole, and we're gonna do some. There we go. Look at that. There we go. I'm using NDI on OBS for the first time, and it's working a little janky, so I don't know. I'm using the Tail 2, which I've used many times with NDI, and now I just need to figure that out. But anyway, we're all good. Thank you all for being here. What's up, Mr. Doggo? What's up, Ryukin? What's up, Parker and Rob and Stefan and Mr. Paul? I sent you an email. Paul is the newest member of the Bamboo Lab 3D Printing Club, which is very, very exciting. So today we can talk about all the things, but the thing I need to do during the live stream is I'm working on a couple of videos. I have a couple of mic reviews that I have filmed, and I just need to film a little bit of B-roll for them. Which I have not done yet. And it's pretty simple B-roll. It's like product shots and maybe a couple of thumbnails. And so I thought, I was like, oh, I need to, I want to do a live stream on Wednesday because I've been really enjoying the weekly streams, but I need to do this. And I was like, what if we just do the things at the same time? And I go through my B-roll setup, especially a really simple one like this. I figured it would be super fun. So that's that will honestly not take that long probably, but that's kind of the thing I need to it's like work I need to do during the stream. And then we can do all the other things, anything and everything else pretty much would be really fun. So appreciate everyone being here. Yeah, drop your questions in the chat. You can use the Q colon if you want. If you don't, it's no big deal, and we'll be good to go. Anaya says, how are you? Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. How do you like your 3D printer? You should buy a scanner next. I love my printers very, very much. That's definitely 3D printing was a bit of an obsession with mine, and then it kind of fell off. And then the Bamboo printers, because of their capabilities, their ease of use, and just how 3D printing has improved so much in the gap since, it kind of reignited that for sure. I've definitely been interested in 3D scanners, which is very, very cool. Or they seem very cool. I've never used one, so yeah. What's the best recommendation for RC2 for Tail 2? I don't know what an RC2 is, so more info would be helpful on that one. What's up, Peter? I'm using the Tail 2 right now. Boop. Where was it? This one. Okay, there's a delay. If I clap, I can't get the sync perfect. There's a few. I'm using the Distro AV NDI plugin, but it's totally fine, because what I thought would be cool is I have this scene set up here, where I could have the room as a wide shot in the corner, and then when I have my camera connected for filming the B-roll, you can actually see, it's not connected right now, but you'll actually be able to see what I'm filming and what it looks like through the camera. So I feel like that would be super helpful, and that'd be pretty fun. Peter's also asking, how steep is the learning curve on 3D printing? Oh my gosh, it used to be very, very steep. Now, I guess it depends on the printer you get. If you go into the Bamboo verse, where you get a Bamboo Lab printer, there's very little learning curve. You can watch my setup video if you haven't already on the P2S, where I unbox it and set up. That was my first time using a Bamboo Lab printer. And seriously, it took me a couple hours to film that setup video because I was filming it. I had multiple cameras. I was moving things around. If I had not been filming it and I was just setting up the printer, I could have had it up and running in under 15 minutes for sure. And then it needs to do a calibration thing, which takes 25-ish minutes. So I guess that means, under an hour you could be up and running, but half of that time is the printer doing its own calibration, which you just have to sit and wait for. So that's super simple. no matter what printer you get, you can always just start by printing existing designs because there are so many out there and it's really, really fun. And that teaches you the basics. That teaches you like, a lot of times when people get into printing, they want to print something super complex. Like this is not 3D printed. This is a little bobblehead of Fuego from the Firebirds. Sometimes people will print stuff like this and they'll just get a complex design and then they'll realize, hey, look at all these parts that kind of like don't touch the ground. How does the printer print in midair? Well, turns out it can't. So there's certain things you have to do to, like set up your prints, and maybe you need to print in different orientation. Maybe you need to have it print little supports that break off. Printing existing designs is a really good way to like learn all of that stuff because you see how other people have done it. And then you'll print stuff that prints really well. You'll print stuff that fails, and that's gonna help you learn like what works and what doesn't work, which then carries over into if you want to start making your own stuff, kind of the same thing. Like how do you design it? How do you design it also then in a way that prints well? And when you're designing your own stuff, are you designing something that's just for you? Like, it's designed to work on a printer you have. Say you have a really big printer, so you can make like a big design. Are you designing something to work on a bunch of printers? Because you want other people to download it and use it a lot. So that would mean then maybe you need to be more aware of like printing it in sections so that people with smaller printers can print all that kind of stuff. But that's like, it's really fun. And that's what I was telling Paul when he told me he got the P2S, is like, it's so easy to get overwhelmed as with anything because it feels like there's so much to learn. But like in the world of 3D printing, the best thing to do is like pace yourself and just have fun and like take your time and enjoy it, enjoy the process, enjoy the experience, and just, I don't know, just have a lot of fun with it there. So the learning curve nowadays does not have to be very steep, especially if it's like literally like you just want to print something. It does not have to be steep at all. I need to move this over because I'm like off center and it's bothering me. Does not have to be steep at all. If you want to then get into the world of building your own stuff and whatever, then it's a little bit more, but it's all incremental, right? Like you don't have to go from 0 to 100 in a day. Ron says, I'm a chef and wanting to film multiple angles by myself and be able to switch the shots with the button on my counter, the head-on main shot, overhead, and a side close-up. Any suggestions, OBS? Yeah, so OBS would work, or Ecamm if you have a Mac would work as well. You can run in different sources, so that would mean like however you can get the computer to see the different sources. If you use something like an ATEM switcher or a Rodecaster video or those kinds of things, the computer only sees that as one input. So it basically thinks it's just a webcam. It just happens that that device has like 4 cameras going into it. So you can switch between those because you have the device right there. So if you're using a hardware switcher, that's not a problem because then you just have the thing sitting there and you push the buttons and it switches between them. But the problem with that is you have to then buy the hardware device, which can be, at minimum several $100s up to a couple $1,000s. If you want to go software only using like Ecamm or OBS or whatever, then you don't need to invest in that, but you need to find a way to connect multiple cameras. So that could be, like in my PC right now, I have the Elgato Camlink Pro, so that's a 4-input capture card, and it sees each of those inputs separately. So even, so I can overlay like 4 things. I don't have 4 things currently connected, but if I go here, these 4 blanks, these are the other inputs for that capture card. I can show them all at the same time. I can overlap them. It sees them individually, which is pretty cool. The other way to do that, of course, though, that's like an HDMI capture card. You can use USB, so you can plug in multiple USB webcams and then switch between them using like a Stream Deck or whatever, or even a keyboard and hotkeys. Or what I like to do a lot is I use MMO mice that have buttons on the side, and you can just program these as hotkeys. And then so you have a mouse that you're probably using to click on stuff anyway, and then that can also be your switcher, and that works really effectively for me, which is cool. So there's so many different ways to approach it. It just kind of depends on like, do you want to go a more hardware route? Do you want to go a software route? Something in between? What's your budget? All that kind of stuff, plays into it. We have the capture as the camera as a 4K webcam. See, then it depends on your computer, like how many inputs your computer can handle. Some computers can handle tons and it's all good. Others, that's kind of the benefit of the hardware switchers, is it offloads that processing to a separate device, and the computer doesn't have to deal with it. Nikki, what's up? Or Nick Taylor, what's up? Finally gets to catch a live stream. Yes, absolutely. Mac is here. What's up, Mac? Have you tried the Stream Deck Plus XL? No. I don't know if I had the... My wife Heather had one of the bigger Stream Decks for a long time. I don't know if it was the XL, but it was like, it had a lot of buttons. And that's cool. I haven't used like the new one, the big one. I don't actually use Stream Decks all that often. I think they're great, and I actually have like several of them, but I usually set them up for... It would, okay, now that I've been using OBS more in here, it would kind of make sense to bring a Stream Deck back in here, because then I could use it during the streams. But normally what I do is I kind of set them up for when I'm in a situation that calls for a Stream Deck, then I kind of use it for that. But I had one like on my desk for ages that was just kind of like, look at this thing I have to dust off periodically, and then I never was using it. I've known other people though, they have like NASA Mission Control, they have like 4 Stream Decks hooked up at the same time. For that kind of a workflow, the XL with all the buttons and knobs is probably pretty sweet. Thomas McClure, I've been fighting the urge to get into 3D printing. Yeah, it's really fun. And it's funny because somebody was asking, I was talking to someone actually on one of my hockey teams a while back, and they were like, what do you 3D print? Like, what are some of the things? And I was, of course, like, oh, all this kind of stuff. And one of my answers was like, you know, all of that like $7 to $15 stuff you buy on Amazon that is like, oh, I need a little connector for this. I need an organizer for this. I need a, like these, you know, just the little things. At least I tend to order a lot of that kind of stuff where it's like, I just need this little thing. You go on, it's you know, a plastic 2-pack from, you know, an overseas company that costs like $7, and then it has to get like shipped and delivered to you, which always feels guilty. It's like, basically you never have to buy that stuff again, because you can just print it and then it just like magically appears. You just push a button and then suddenly it's in, like it's just in your room with the printer, which is kind of cool. Oh, the connectors under, we're talking about RC2. The connectors under the HDMI of the OBS.tail 2 called RS232. Oh, the fact that I didn't know what those are affirms the fact that I have not used them, and therefore am probably not the best person to ask about that sort of thing. Have you tried the new Nucleus autofocus adapter by Tilta? I have not. I have not. I do have a piece of gear that I'm excited to share that's not related to that, but yeah. You should try using a phone to 3D scan things. I've heard about that, and I've seen like the things you can mount a phone in, and it like spins around and stuff. And you know, if there's a way to do that that's not expensive, you know, like instead of having to buy a 3D scanner, that's pretty cool. What audio interface do you use? I switch a lot, as anyone who watches streams or videos knows. I have like a lot of the same gear, but it's like all on rotation, so it's never like the same combination of gear any given time. My main interface that I typically use here at my desk is the Rodecaster Duo. Today, I think I switched it and you'll be able to see it. Yeah, there we go, look at that. Today, I'm actually using this here, which is the Hollyland Lark A1. So it's just a little USB mic, a little receiver that's plugged into my computer right there. And then that is the mic right here, because I'm going to be getting up and moving around in a little bit. And so, yeah. Normally though, here I use my Rodecaster Duo, because I use an XLR microphone, and the Rodecaster is really nice because it has physical faders and you can map out different channels. So, you know, it has virtual channels, so you can have like, you know, audio from your browser on one channel, audio from a game, audio for a chat or whatever. It's really nice to be able to do that. Paul, I wonder how many hours I will have on the P2S by Monday. Probably more than you expect. Triple Pancake, what's up? It's 1:30 a.m. here. Where are you? I'm so curious. You need to like email me updates. Yeah, you just need to email me updates. I'm so curious about what you're doing, what you're up to, but it's nice to see you here. Ron likes the mouse idea. I'm on a MacBook Pro with 3 USB-C ports. And the MacBook Pros, especially any M series, is like so powerful. Be good. Paul does have the Stream Deck XL and loves it, but it's big. It looks awesome. Like, it looks really cool. Alan says, thank you for the Final Cut Pro course. Any thoughts on the latest update, Creator Studio, etc.? Yes, so I do have a Final Cut Pro course, and I also have 2 podcasting courses that used to be paid, but now they are just free on YouTube. So if you go to my channel and click on the courses tab, all 3 of them are right there, and you can go through them for $0, which is very cool. The Final Cut Pro course, yeah, the essentials of that are not out of date, but the new updates to Final Cut are pretty sweet. I haven't really like even dug into them that much because my workflow is so kind of static. But I really like that they're going into like subtitles and transcriptions. That's been something that's sorely lacking on Final Cut. The Creator Studio stuff, I haven't dipped into that because I bought Final Cut in 2012 for $300, and that's what I've been using ever since. Or maybe it was 2011 even. Whenever they switched to the version that everyone hated, that's when I bought it. So yeah, I've been using that for a long time. And I've always been worried they're going to switch to a subscription model, and now Creator Studio is sort of their version of doing that, but it sort of seems like, at least currently, it's actually a pretty decent deal. What I'm very curious and slightly anxious about is how they're going to navigate a feature split as time goes on. Like, do the new versions get do new features only get given to the subscription model and not the legacy one? I don't know. I hope not. But they did also then acquire Motion VFX a couple weeks ago, which is very cool because I use those Actually, my Final Cut Pro course, literally like the video I'm putting together in that course as a tutorial centers around a Motion VFX thing. So maybe it's even more relevant now than it was when I made it. But that's really cool because those plugins are super powerful, and the fact that they acquired that and maybe want to make them natively integrated does make it a better value, but also seems to show that Apple's still pretty committed to Final Cut. And, I'm always worried they're going to be like, we're done, like they did with, what was their thing? Was it Aperture? Their like photo editing app a while back. Carson, best affordable 4K camera for Canon EF lenses. I have an old original Blackmagic cinema camera that likely want to replace. Okay, EF lenses. So I'm actually using a Canon EF lens right now on a Canon RF camera because I'm using the EOS R. But I'm using the RF to EF adapter. And as you can see, like, it works just fine. I mean, the camera doesn't want to lock out. Camera, you're not doing the impressive stuff. Now it's just not doing anything. I was trying to show that, like, hey, focus will work. I just need to block my face. Well, you know what? Ignore what I said. The focus works pretty good. Having gone from EF mounts to this RF mount when this was my main camera, I did not notice a difference in the autofocus performance when I was using the adapter. So the EF lenses focus the same, which means if you want to get a Canon camera, you could get any of the new RF cameras. I'm not super up to date on Canon's lineup, but I know they have relatively recent release things like the R50, I think it is, way more affordable, like mirrorless 4K cameras, and you could just very easily adapt your EF lenses to work on that, and it works well. Since you have the Blackmagic camera, if you want to stay in the Blackmagic universe, like the 6K, 6K Pro, I know they haven't been updated in a bit. Maybe hold off because NAB is next month, and that's often when Blackmagic announces new things. But those cameras, like the 6K series of cameras, are so good, and I think they're incredible values for the price, and you can also get them used too for even less. And then they work great with your EF lenses, and you're already pretty used to how Blackmagic cameras work. So if that's working for you, you would just be upgrading within the same ecosystem instead of starting from scratch. So yeah. Egon's a 3D print addict. It's such a fun thing. Like, I often think if my like 12-year-old self could see a 3D printer, especially when like something is done and I just walk in all casually and like take it out of the printer and use it, like, it really is like science fiction. It's pretty cool. Simply Andy says, I wish the Autopod software worked with Final Cut rather than finding hardware for auto switching. Oh, I didn't even realize. I'm guessing it's a plugin for auto switching. Interesting. Arnav had an issue with the new firmware update from a couple weeks ago. Which firmware update for which thing? Full-time YouTuber, what's up? How's the 3D printing going? Fantastic. We were talking about this last week, I think, on a live stream, but like currently at this moment, I'm not printing anything, and it feels like I'm wasting time, like I'm burning daylight. How about that Elgato low profile sign nameplate? Oh yeah, I think the low profile arms, you can get like custom stuff done now, right? And that's pretty sweet. I mean, Elgato does really cool things. What's up, Kilobyte? Kilobyte, oh my God. I didn't get it until I read it out loud and now I get it, yes. Adapter for sure. Yeah, it works really, really well. I know I was trying to show the focus and it wasn't, but I swear it does. There we go, look at that, boom. And then obviously I've been moving back and forth. I'm using an f2.0 lens at f2.0 and it's working. You can't, speaking of adapters, this was my main lens for a long time. This is the Sigma 24mm 1.4 art lens, which is really wonderful. And then I have it running through a Sigma adapter onto a Sony camera. When I moved to Sony 5 years ago now, I did get the Sony 24mm just because I was like, you know what? Spending so much money on this camera, I'm just gonna go full in and not adapt an existing lens. And the native Sony lenses are dead silent. They make a lot of EF lenses will, they make a lot of noise. Even the lens I'm using right now, when I was doing the focus thing, it like clicks and makes a lot of noise. You probably can't hear it, hopefully, on this microphone. But they're loud, which also lets me know whenever I accidentally leave my camera turned on. I can tell because it just starts clicking in the corner. So anyway, I did that. This has been my wife's main lens for the past couple of years. When she switched over to the Sony ZV-E1 in 2024, she like upgraded her whole office and studio to 4K, and it's worked great until earlier this week. She did a live stream. It's like a 2-hour live stream, worked great. And then the next day went in, turned on the camera, and it started doing this. And it did it, let me see if I can, you see what's happening here? The focus just going, and you can hear it probably. It just will not stop doing this, and it was doing it on her ZV-E1. I put it on my A7 IV. It did it on here. I then took this lens and put it on this camera, the Canon camera, and it did it there. And then I did it without the adapter. It did it there. So I think the autofocus is like dying or something on here. It's very, very strange. I updated all the firmware, did all the things. Can't fix it. Super bummer. That has nothing to do with your question. It was just like, you talked about adapters and lenses, and that was there. And it's like, it's always frustrating when she hadn't used the camera in like a bit. And so it's almost like, because it sat for a week or two and then was used for a long period of time, that doesn't make sense. That like, I think it was kind of failing, and then the break combined with then an extended use session just like killed it. And so the autofocus motor is freaking out. Rodecaster Duo 1.7.3. Oh, the new firmware update. I'm not running the Duo right now, but I have that on there. It worked well. It's worked well for me, actually, so I'm curious what issues you're having. But, I mean, I've been using it daily, so, but it is always scary to put in new firmware because, yeah. The video on the live stream seems less saturated than your usual videos. Do you do a lot of post-processing? I mean, I don't do a lot of post-processing. I have a little Final Cut preset that I add in. I don't know how to add like a LUT onto OBS, but I'm using OBS, and so I have adjusted it a little bit, but the combination of OBS plus my non-usual camera for my videos leads to a little bit less saturation, but we'll talk about that as we get into the B-roll stuff, because, yeah. If there is a way to install LUTs on, could you put LUTs on OBS? Is that a thing? It must be, right? I mean, effect filters, apply a LUT. Oh. Let me see if I can do this, because check this out. I know with OBS it's user error. This is a thing this is related to the B-roll stuff. I do have, if you go to HiMyNameIsTom.com, click on downloads. I do have the Final Cut preset, which is not a professionally designed thing. So, you know, it's designed for my space and my preferences, so it might make your footage look like poo-poo. But there is a LUT that I made to use with Ecamm. Can I just download that? Cool. And then let's hop over here and see if we can apply it. That would be cool. Downloads, LUT, open. Oh man. Oh, I can, yeah. Hey, look at that. Oh, this is cool. Okay. Is it, there we go. So it's way too bright and overexposed there, but this probably looks a little more normal. I tend to overexpose things a little bit, but that's fine. I could probably, you know what, here, let me try something. What if I take this and I turn down my ISO? What am I changing? Oh my gosh. I might have changed a setting incidentally. Okay, what if I bump down the camera's ISO and then I bump up the LUT, and that probably looks more like a normal video situation, which is just basic like saturation and stuff, not a ton, but we'll see. Let me know what that is like. And also thank you for asking that question, because then you just made me learn how to do LUTs in OBS, which is very cool. The camera, yeah, my lens has focus issues. It definitely has ADHD. Red Phoenix got the P2S a week ago. Video on the machine helped the decision. It's such an upgrade from like everything. It's just it's so insanely good. Yeah, the part of the difference here though is also Canon versus Sony, because Canon always leans more magenta than Sony does. And then I tend to also put things, even though it's the same 4200 degree color temperature that I film everything else at. It's just the difference between Canon and Sony, which you can totally notice if you're used to one and the other. Although I think this might have brought it more in line. It's a little hard to tell. Let's see here. Can't Be Broken has a Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra. I'm not sure if you viewed it. I have not, but I must get comments or asked about this like once or twice a week. So I am very curious about it. Did you switch back to Canon from Sony or just use each? So I like when gear gets used, and for this setup, I can show you, maybe as long as my, this is gonna be totally no LUT applied. What if I applied the LUT here? Can we do that too? That would be unnecessary, but maybe fun. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I like it. This is the Obsbot Tail 2, so these colors are totally different from everything else, and there's a bit of a delay. But I switched to this camera just to show you this setup here. And this camera thing here, actually I have a video about it. Let me see if I can kind of zoom in a little bit more. And whoa, there's a slight delay. It's a little crazy. It's like playing a game with lag. We're going to talk about why there's all these artificial plants in here too. Okay. Yeah, so this setup, I have a video that I'm working on about this because of the way it's mounted, where the camera's like floating off the desk and stuff, which is pretty cool. But this is important to me that it never moves, because I change everything all the time, right? And so like I'm constantly moving things around, and when I do my normal videos, I like set up my cameras in different positions, even if it's kind of the same basic angle every time. There's slight variations. Sometimes I'll have the cameras facing like this wall with like the guitars on it is more of the background. Other times it'll be over here where it's like the computer and the screen. And part of that is just visual preference, but part of that's also like if I'm doing a video related to audio, so like a mic review, I like having the instruments in the background because it's like audio and it all feels related. If I'm doing a video that's like streaming gear or a webcam or something, I like having the computer and stuff in the background because it just seems more related. So all that to say, nothing is ever permanently set up. So it was very important that at my desk I had a good camera that's always ready to go, no matter what, for just all kinds of reasons, including stuff like this. The tricky part with that is that I didn't want to use any of my Sony cameras for that, because I have 3 Sony cameras and I pretty much use them in every video I make. So if I had that camera here, I'd be constantly setting it up, plugging it in, taking it off, and that means it wouldn't be permanently set up. So I took my Canon EOS R, which was my, the Canon that I used before I went to Sony, and I just use that here with 35mm lens. The downside of that is it is 1080. It's not 4K, but I think the stream's actually 4K because it's being upscaled. but it's very high quality 1080, so it looks great. This camera can shoot in 4K, but the crop is so massive, it's very hard. I need like the widest lens in the world. I don't have an effective way of doing 4K on the EOS R right now, but it's a cool thing to do because this camera never has to move. It's always just connected straight to the computer. It has permanent, like a dummy battery for power. I can just turn it on, turn it off. It's always ready to go with the Elgato prompter on it. I never have to think about it, and that's pretty cool. So anyway, that's why I use Canon for this, Sony for that. And sometimes I make videos where I switch between them, and like I'll have one of my Sony cameras off to the side that I'm talking into, and then I'll cut to this angle. And it can be tricky to cut between Sony and Canon and make it look at all comparable. But I'm also like, what am I doing? I'm not doing like an Academy Award nominated movie or anything over here. So if there's slight differences, I'm okay with it usually. Sergeant Nobody picked up the DJI Mic Mini on Amazon, was curious. I have several videos on the Mic Mini, including a dedicated review on it. I absolutely love it. I'm sure I could probably find that video for you to drop the link in the chat. Tom Buck, DJI Mic Mini. I have a few comparisons. So, wow, I have 3 videos that include it specifically. I compared a lot of the tiny microphones in this one. This is just a quick sound test between them, so that is not a full review, but here's the full Mic Mini versus Mic 2 review. Keep in mind I made this before the Mic 3 came out. I'll post that in the chat. But the price difference is so great compared to from the Mic 3 to the Mic 2. Yeah, so anyway, I love the Mic Mini. Sorry, the price difference between the Mini and the Mic 3 is huge. That like, the Mini I think is easily the best value. I'm using this one right now because it's so lightweight and just the super simple USB, the Hollyland Lark A1. It's awesome. Okay, let's jump into some B-roll real quick. Feel free to keep asking questions and doing other things, but I kind of wanted to explain a few things. So so K-dramas, Korean dramas. It turns out that I, unbeknownst to me, have been channeling the style of Korean dramas for many years and didn't realize it. My wife Heather and I recently started watching a bunch of Korean dramas, it's basically like Korean shows, but they tend to be like, there's no filler episodes in a K-drama. Like it's just like, they're so fun and they're so good, and I really, really, really have been enjoying them. So we've been watching several of them, and I was enjoying them, having fun, and then suddenly, like, it really hit me that I was like, God, I love the way that these look. And I know you probably can't, lump every Korean drama into one thing, but there's kind of a broad stylistic thing that happens with Korean dramas. And I looked into it a little bit because I noticed it carrying over between different series. And essentially what it is super bright, saturated colors most of the time. The one we're watching right now is called The King's Affection, which is like a period piece. It takes place, I don't know, we'll say 1500s-ish, which in Western media, when you see things like that, like think of Game of Thrones or whatever, right? Like, which I know is not a period piece, but it's like a medieval kind of thing. Everything's always very gray, very washed out. Think of any time you see stuff in Mexico, it's got the orange filter on it for some reason. And that's just kind of what you're used to. And so watching this period piece where every color is like so brightly saturated and all the lighting, what I kind of love is that they use motivated lighting, but it's also like everything's always at golden hour. Like, no matter which, I'm confused sometimes when it seems like it's real golden hour lighting, how they manage to do that versus other times when, they're obviously just like staging the lighting. But it's like even between different shots or cutaways to different characters in the same scene, sometimes the lighting will even kind of change. And it's like, I kind of like that they're not really worried about continuity. They're focused more on the tone of it. I don't know. I love that it sort of like breaks a lot of rules that it just sort of breaks a lot of rules that we're used to in like Western media. And another thing that they do is half the scenes, look like this, which is a freeze frame from, this is a video I did a while back comparing smartphone cameras to like real cameras. And I thought it was fun. I just went through from like my iPhone 3G to my iPhone 14 Pro that I had at the time. I just went through and compared. I basically was like, at what point did smartphone cameras become as good as like really good cameras available at the time? And my question to that was because the iPhone 3G is essentially the same video quality as the Canon XL1, which was like a very expensive pro camera at the time. Anyway, while I was working on that video, we were house sitting for my wife's family, and I needed to do some B-roll, so I went out in their backyard, and like I film stuff in our yard often because I just like filming stuff outside, but their yard is like, they don't live in the desert like we do, so it's so lush. There's like so many layers of plants and bushes, and it was just like I was getting these I like these amazing B-roll shots where the background is just beautiful and like different shades of lighting and, you know, bokeh everywhere, which I really love. And I was just like, God dang, I love this. And then we started watching the K-dramas, and like literally, if you replace this phone with a person, this is like how every scene looks. Like every scene, the background is just obliterated. It's so like out of focus. And if they have any kind of chance to put lighting in the background that will turn into like bokeh balls, absolutely they will do it. You can freeze frame on characters and see like there must be, you know, 5 different light sources on them at all times. And they do so much with plants and greenery. And it's just, I just love it. And also, I forget what lens I was using for this, probably the 85 that I'll be using today. But a lot of stuff in the Korean dramas, especially any close-ups of people talking, are like, they look like they're using at least 100mm lenses, if not more, to like not only blur out the background, but also compress the background. It's just, it all looks so good. And that's just I just like the way that kind of stuff looks. And I've noticed that so much of it is stylistic and personal preference. And then, you know, you can also get into the, you know, what suits the story, what suits the, you know, I understand that very much. But in the West, I don't know how else to say it, but in Western camera culture, when DSLRs started being able to shoot video, you know, everyone had their 5D Mark II, their 7D, their T2i with 50mm 1.8 lens, and just everything was just, you know, focus in and out, razor sharp depth of field, or not razor sharp, razor thin depth of field. And, you know, that kind of became a style. And then, you know, full frame cameras became more accessible. And especially if you're someone like me who grew up with camcorders where like the idea of having any background separation between your subject was like near impossible. It just felt like magic to be able to do that. Obviously, you know, then it became a thing lots of people were doing. Time went on, people got into videography having only ever used DSLRs and mirrorless cameras and high quality lenses and stuff. And so that then meant that shallow depth of field wasn't quite as special to them anymore. And obviously it can be overused sometimes. I know this. But then there kind of became this sentiment, especially across camera YouTube. And I'm sorry if this sounds like I throw a little bit of shade, but camera YouTube, whatever you want to, there's, you know, like kind of a core group of camera influencers, and it really is like one person says one thing and then you see it filter down and now everyone says that thing, and then the people who go to those channels for advice and feedback, now they all disseminate that same info, and it's like, I don't know who actually even, you know, you have 100 people saying the same thing, and I don't know how many of them actually had the original thought. I think they, you know, anyway, one of those thoughts a while ago, which I think is just a contrarian hot take, I don't even think it's necessarily a thing, was like, essentially like shallow depth of field is bad. Which like, it's just a tool, it's a preference. Like it's not inherently good or bad or anything. There's definitely times where you want every bit of a frame in focus, but there's other times when you don't, and there's times where it doesn't matter, so you just get to pick what you want to do. And sometimes you're limited by your equipment. But I think it just became because everybody was doing the, you know, the super shallow depth of field, blurry background thing, that then other people, it just sort of became like, no, that's dumb and it's cool to not do that. And then other people just followed suit because, you know, anyway, I don't want to get too into that. And I was just kind of like, I'm not into that. I really like the blurry background thing. So if I have an f1.4 lens, it's pretty much always going to be at 1.4. Like, and it just is. And I often do, like, pretty regularly get negative comments, negative messages about that kind of stuff, which is so weird that people care. But watching the Korean dramas, it was interesting because it was like, wow, you guys not only like this, but you take it, like, you go far into it. But what was really cool too is using, like, whatever they're using, 85, 100, 130, I don't know, 35 millimeter lenses. The characters, the actors, the subjects are pretty much always entirely in focus. It doesn't do the thing where, like, you know, one eye is in focus and one eye is not, or whatever. Unless rarely for dramatic effect it will. But it's like, you know, the whole, because basically if you get like a 100 millimeter lens, but then you go really far away from your subject and you film them, they will be totally in focus, even though you have a very thin depth of field. And that must be what they're doing. I don't know. It's just fascinating to me. So anyway, I've been experimenting with my own little K-drama inspired lighting setups, which if I can get it, I'd like to do a video on. The B-roll that I want to film today is heavily inspired by that, and that's what we're gonna kind of jump into. That was a very interesting rant, I think. Yeah. Let's see here. Ba-do-boo. Cool. Let's jump into... I'm going to show you some B-roll and I want to share some ideas. So if I go over to the wide view here, the reason I have these artificial plants is specifically, I'm not going to be able to duplicate this kind of a style. I know that, but when you have a light source shining behind and into plants and leaves, they just naturally make these organic shapes. And then I did, where is it? If I go to my channel and I look at, I was just playing around actually. Oh yeah, the Rodecaster core, this thumbnail, I just took, we have a Monstera plant in our kitchen, and I just kind of put that in here to try to sort of do it. You can kind of see it in the upper right corner. I just put a light behind it, and I was like, oh, it's nice. And it was like really nice having the greenery in here. I don't want a real plant living in here because I don't want dirt and potential bugs and water and all that stuff in here for many reasons. But I was like, you know, maybe incorporating a little bit of greenery wouldn't be super terrible. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it could be a fun thing to do. So let's set some stuff up. Hopefully this camera will unfreeze. I don't know why the NDI stuff, if there's any NDI settings, I'm standing up right now, so it should, there we go. There we go. The things that I'm filming today, and I know this is out of sync, so I apologize. The videos that I have already filmed are mic reviews. So I did a review finally for the SE Dynacaster, which is a very cool dynamic microphone. And then this has been out for a while. And then I did this one, which I'm super excited about. I've had this since last summer and I just haven't made a video about it, which is the Warm Audio WA87 Junior. This is essentially like, I don't call it a knockoff Neumann U87 because it's $300, but kind of that's what the intention is. And it's a really cool microphone. So anyway, I have reviews for both of those that I'm working on. And I just need simple B-roll footage of the microphones, especially because they do have some controls. I don't know if you can see this here, but like the boop, like the Dynacaster has these controls on the back. So I mentioned that in the video. Whenever I mention stuff like that, I like to show it. It's also just, you know, from talking about the microphone, I like people to be able to see it. And then I also need thumbnail images for those videos. So I was gonna do a little bit of product B-roll, but I need like pretty minimal shots. So I was like, oh, cool. It's not like too much to go over, you know, to go over with during a stream. So that's what we're going to do today. And that's also why it's really nice to have this space that I can clear out and move things around all the time. So the camera that I'm using for B-roll, I might switch lenses, but I have the A7S III with the Zeiss 85 1.8 because this is my longest, fastest lens. I do have the 70-200 f2.8, which I might try some stuff with, depending, but we're gonna start here. And I'm using this camera because I pretty much do all of my product B-roll in 4K 120. And this, the A7 IV, the new A7 V also has it. So does my FX3. FX3 is on a stand over here. Hey, we're frozen again, that's fun. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be using NDI. I can also switch, hello, I could switch to the tiny cam over here if I need to, because I got this guy and I think I can have it track me, and then maybe that would be better. Is it tracking me? Okay, it is. Well, maybe we can just use this for now while the other camera, if the other camera freezes, I'll switch to this. And it has frozen. Okay, so NDI, it's not liking NDI. Then we might have to stick with this. I wanted the other angle though so you could see more of what I was doing over there. But anyway, so I have this set up here, and then I have, oh, this will be interesting, because I have the B-roll shot. This will probably come in and out of being frozen. If I turn on the Sony camera, boom, there we go. We should be able to actually see. This might make you a little sick, but I'm filming in 4K 120. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. I will set this down here for the time being, and we'll go back over here. I will take a drink as quietly as I can. And here's what we're going to use. We are going to use, we're going to move some plants around. I'm not sure how many of those I'll be using totally. I have this crazy Pavo tube set up here. I'm going to try not to tangle up on a cable if I'm able. Whoop, whoop, whoop. There we go. I'm not sure that I'll be using a lot of that, but we're going to put that over there just for now. There you go. And then what I wanted was this. So my plan is right where you are, right where this camera is. That's going to kind of be the background, because I have a plant behind. If this camera turned around, it's like in the jungle. I have a plant there. I have sort of table here. I have the RGB from the computer. I have the colors on my monitors. I really like those as the background. And I would love to see if, there we go, kind of, this camera just freezes as soon, no, we're good. There, hopefully you can kind of see what's happening. I want to take this desk mat, hopefully not be clumsy. I'm going to take this, put that here. I don't even know how much. You'll probably see a little bit of the floor. So I want that there. And then we'll start with, let's start with the warm audio. Let's start with the Dynacaster, actually. Let's start with that one. We're going to keep it simple to begin with. And what's the easiest way to, there we go. Set that mic there. I have a lot of these little lights that we'll probably use. And then we're going to be playing with some plants here. Basically, we're going to create a little forest in front of some lights here. Put that there. Layers of leaves are usually a good thing. So we're going to put that there. I'm going to minimize this window and just go with the computer background. Cool. Oh yeah, this was my wife Heather's idea. I mounted a little nan light up here, which I think is turning on. There we go, just to kind of fill that in a little bit. And then I'm going to turn this to RGB. NDI just loves to freeze. I should have just run an HDMI cable to that. But anyway, I changed the light in the corner to RGB. I have that there. Now, a big key element would actually be this light behind these. So actually, I should have done that first. I should take this and put it here. And then we can put our layers kind of here-ish, maybe. I don't know. Let's see how that starts to look. So let's jump over. Let's jump over to the B-roll section. Okay, so where we're at now, we're kind of, let's see here. Ba-doop. Okay, we're kind of getting some cool stuff going, but the mic itself is way too dark. So that's when we can start blasting it with all these other light sources. Oh, we're getting some cool stuff happening there. I kind of like this. I wish that Pavo tube was covered up just a little bit more though. Maybe something like that would be better. You know, wonder what's, I might just push this up against it. It's not a real plant. It's not going to get hurt by being against the light. There, that's probably better. Now we're getting some fun shapes in the background. I like that a lot. I think I would actually like, I don't know what to do with this. This was for a talking head thing I was setting up, but it could be fun here. All right, so there's that. I mean, that's a cool, this is a cool shot too, just with the lights over there. So you have different options here. I'm liking a lot of the, oh, actually, yeah, this is dope. Okay, this is turning out perfect. I like it. I'm gonna throw in some more lights though, because that would be delightful. We're just gonna like fully K-drama this out here. Okay, so there's that. I can actually turn down my ISO in camera, I think. So here, let's put this back a little bit. So then what I do whenever I film is I usually just focus on the thing, and so I'm doing 4K 120, I can just start recording, and then I just do a little slow move like that. I don't know if I want this light in the frame. Let's try that again. There we go. Can you, if I play this back, will you be able to see it? Yeah, and then when I play it back at 4K 120, you can't see it. I'll probably have to change my camera's playback settings. Oops. I'll play it back on the computer when we're done. That shot looked, whoa, that shot looked cool. And then a lot of times what I do too is, depending on the setup, I'll either take a photo for a thumbnail, or like in this case, I feel like I'll be able to just find a frame in these videos and export that as a thumbnail. So I'm gonna do a couple of these kind of with that in mind. I wanna turn on my camera settings here. Doo-doop. There it is. I like to put the, I don't know if you can, you probably can't see it. Or actually, I can show you real quick. I like to have on my camera's display, I like to have this grid, so that way it just helps me align stuff, especially when I'm moving it by hand. And I just like to move and get like some parallax effect, kind of go up or down. And the 4K 120 smooths it out, and then especially when I put that into Final Cut, if I add a little bit of stabilization there, it usually gets really, really smooth. So look at those bokeh in the background. Oh, yes, 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 yes. There we go. Okay. So we have those shots here. This mic. This mic is doing an interesting thing. Let's see here. Can I... Oh, you were in the shell. You were in the jungle over there on the webcam. Sorry. That's funny. It was, I forgot. I forgot that case. This mic has, so on the back of it, it says Dynacaster and has the settings, and I just want to make sure that's right side up. So what I'll probably do is take a little piece of tape and just sort of wedge this up to kind of be a little, to help it not tip more. There we go. That's actually pretty perfect. And then this, let's see here. This is kind of, this is almost where I'm wondering if the 70 to 200 would be better. So this shot here, like you see how you see the bottom of the desk right here, and you see some of these lights. Sometimes I leave in the side lights because I don't really care, but I'll probably be cropping in on this specifically to show the controls on the mic more. And then I might want to play around. Let's see how the 70 to 200 works. This is a little bit harder to do handheld because it's essentially twice the reach. So we'll see. I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to do, but it's almost better for a macro lens. Oh dang! And look at that background. Oh, it's gorgeous. I love it. Okay, that's going to be fun for the other mic. I'm going to try to get a little bit of my macro-ish stuff happening here. This might be too jittery, but we'll see. Cropping it in, editing, all that kind of stuff. You can do, a lot of magic. The other thing that I mentioned in the video for this camera is that the mount is a little weird. It's not weird, it's just sometimes hard to fit the cable and the mic stand. So I'm going to put it on a little mic stand, and then I'm going to run a cable. I don't know what a good... I feel like I'm almost leaning towards a hot pink cable since the background is kind of moodier. Let's do that. This end. There we go. So I want to show basically I won't even call it a problem, but the thing with this microphone is that the mic mount and the XLR mount are right next to each other, which can kind of make it hard sometimes to mount, to fit. There we go. This, I think I'm going to put my other lens back on. I could get the tripod, of course, but I don't want to today, so I'm not going to. The 85 millimeter is easy to do handheld. It's the 200 is hard. There we go. But look at this. Oh, there we go. This is looking nice. And sometimes with the 85 as well, it can be a little jittery with its focus. So I will turn on, can't see it on your screen, but I have focus peaking turned on, and then I'll just use manual focus. So what focus peaking does, if you want to take a peek, is, it doesn't put it through HDMI. Basically, the parts of the frame that are in focus on the camera's display, they then have like a colored, mine show up in red. It's like a colored outline. Oops, I didn't change the setting. There we go. So anything that has kind of like a red glow to it is in focus, and I can tell that. Oh, I really like the way that this looks though. So much so that I might even think about playing with a thumbnail option that is more of this. Boom. Ooh, we're going places here. Okay. And with the 85 too, it's kind of that thing of like shallow depth of field, but the further I get back, more of the subject gets in focus. Oh, I'm really happy with this. Boom. Okay, honestly, that's probably enough for this microphone. I don't know if I need any more for that one. So let's see, let's switch here. And let's see if I can show you some of that footage, what it looks like. And then we'll jump into the other mic, which visually I'm more excited about the other mic, so I wanted to do this one first, specifically so that I kind of learned once you do the setup a little bit, then the next thing you do, like, usually ends up being a little bit better. That is not the angle I want. There we go. Let me make this shorter. There we go. Ish. All right, this is as short as this stool will go. Let me check in with everybody. Okay, Ryukin's out of here. See you later. Tilt shift lenses are indeed fun. I have a video about it, and they are cool. Ryukin got similar thing. Coke Zero versus Diet Coke. I used to be a Diet Coke person, and then actually for a long time, I took a trip to Iceland and Switzerland in 2018, and they didn't have Diet Coke over there. They only had Coke Zero. And so it was like 3 weeks where I was like, that's all I could have. And then the taste was acquired. Try the Canon 51.0. That's crazy. I see some mic questions. We'll come back and check those out. Let's look through our shots. This is, oh, right. The one thing about my PC is it does not have an SD card slot, so I have to use an adapter. And I've actually never played back 4K 120 footage on this PC, so I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work. And I need, my microphone is using my USB-C, my easily accessible USB-C input, so I need to adapt my adapter. I have no idea if this is going to work. Oh, I think it did. Hey. All right. Infrared clip. And I think we're pretty good. We'll do icons. It's not giving me thumbnails, but okay. I don't know what the easiest way to show these to you would be. Let's go to browser. What source can I choose here? Interesting. I thought it would do like the desktop, but it didn't. But what I could do, dang, this window's huge. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up so I can show you the stuff I just shot in an easy way. We can't open, oh, Windows Media Player does not like that. Okay, I'd like to be able to see it like for real though, you know. Will this work? Quick look, okay. I don't know how it will work when I switch between clips, but yeah, when I play these back at 4K 120, once I kind of get into the move there, it's a lot smoother than it looked while I was like filming it and hand holding it. And so even though this was totally handheld, it still works great. And then once you put that into editing, if you add in just a little bit of stabilization, as long as there's not too much shake, then it makes it like, it looks like you're using a slider or a tripod or something. But you saw how fast it was to do that, and I didn't have to do any of those things. Let's see what other shots that we got here. I'm hoping I can switch between them reasonably. Oh, I can. Cool. So yeah, so here is the close-up of these buttons, and what I would do on this is just crop it in. So like, you know, in Final Cut, I would end up doing something kind of like that-ish, where you only see the part that matters and not the whole shot. Doop, 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 doop. But we want to see the whole frame for now while we're just previewing these back. What else is on here? I actually don't know. Oh, this is footage from a different video. That's my camera video. That's also the camera video. Where is today's shots? Well, you get a sneak peek of the camera setup video. Okay, here's this one, and usually it's in the middle is where I start getting into it. So see, something like this is a cool B-roll shot when I have the video and I'm talking about, you know, the SE Dynacaster is a microphone that does whatever, and then I show it right there. But also I can find probably like a specific frame of this that would be a good thumbnail. In some case, you know, it could be the product right in the middle and then it doesn't need any text. Other times, maybe I could put text on both sides of this. Maybe I could put one big word across the back or something. So usually, you know, I try to look for like a couple of different thumbnail options in the video clips that we're doing. Here is, oh, nuts. I shouldn't have exited that. Because I have a thing called Quick Look installed on my PC, which is kind of like on a Mac when you can press spacebar and it will just show you the thing. So that's what I'm using to preview these right now. But here's the shot. This was the 85, trying to show the cable thing. I don't know. Let's see. Where's the 200? Do I have that one in here? Or is that the two? If that's a 200, I'm impressed. I don't think that's the 200. I guess this is a 200. It's definitely a lot jitterier. It might be too jittery for, and this is the 200 too. I love the compression. Look at the bokeh. Look at, like, it looks like the background is just right there. It'll be interesting to see if Final Cut Stabilizer can fix that or not. But I have options either way if it can't. So anyway, that's kind of the basic process for that. Let's properly eject my memory card. Well, okay, let's just force eject it, and then we'll work on the other mic in a second. But that is the basic process there. Fairy lights are a good idea. I don't have any on me currently. I have no shortage of lights. Yeah, fairy lights are a good idea. The issue I have, because I used to actually do that a ton when I was teaching. I love doing setups or show students how to do that. Like, you know, you do an interview and you kind of drape some fairy lights or Christmas lights in the background. But then it started to look, I was worried that it always looked too holiday themed. And yeah, it wasn't the holidays all the time. So it's, you know, but yeah, let's do the next microphone. I'm hoping, hey, look at that. We're not totally frozen. I apologize again. I know I've said it a few times, but if you joined the stream and you're watching this angle here and the camera freezes, I apologize. I'm using it through NDI for the first time on OBS, and there's apparently some kinks to work out. So it freezes, but the audio should continue on, and then it will pick up, I don't know, after a few seconds, I think. And it's just, it is what it is. I should have put, gosh, this is really in here. I should have put just a long HDMI cable to that camera, and then it wouldn't be a problem. So I can put this microphone away, because I think I'm done with it. Boop. Okay. And now the warm audio. Oh, such a good microphone. So this microphone has multiple components. I have the mic, I have the shock mount, and I have a stand. So I'm probably gonna do 3 different types of setups with just the microphone, and then I need shots of all its individual controls that it has. And then I'll probably put the microphone in the shock mount. This will probably be pretty good for a thumbnail, and then we'll put it on here where it's elevated so we don't see the table. And then we'll just see how things look. This one seems a little more prone to showing fingerprints, so we will wipe it off so that doesn't happen. And let's jump into our setup here and see if we want to change anything. See what we want to do here. So, boop. This desk mat, I don't know if you can tell, but it has kind of a spot where, like, the pattern, I don't know, converges. And I always like to put the product there because it just looks nice. So there's that. Let's pop these on. Usually I don't do B-roll for multiple videos at the same time. It just kind of worked out that way. And I thought that would be kind of fun. So let's see how this microphone, oh, I don't have a memory card in the camera. That's a thing I should put there. Boop, 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 boop. All right. Let's see. All right, so this microphone, the last microphone we used was black, and so it absorbed a lot of light. This silver microphone is reflecting a lot of light, so that's just a little bit different. Not bad, just different. I'm wondering, like, how much we really need of some of these lights. This is pretty sweet looking. This little light right here. Oh, you know what? Here's what I can do. Instead of having this light in the way, I will take this big pavo tube and pop it over here. There. So I added a light. I think it's frozen on the, well, I'll show you here. I added this tall light off to the side so it doesn't have to be on the table. And then I've got these 3 little lights over here adding in some fill. And then we've got everything that's happening in the background. And there we go. And now we do the same thing basically. This mic, I don't know, it might be fun to do some semi like futuristic looking thing here with the pavo tubes behind it and even a foreground object. That's kind of cool. Why not? And then I don't have a macro lens, so that's why getting like close-ups of controls and things can sometimes be difficult. But what I often do is get as close as I can, film the control, and then know that I'll just crop in. And this lens, this mic also has controls on the other side. We can use our nice background we have set up. And we'll do this one as well. All right. And then I do want to get the, this might get blocked later, but I want to get the, when I put it in the shock mount, you might not be able to see this, so I want to get the model number. I like this bokeh. Okay, so that's probably pretty good for those. Now we're kind of working in increments. So now we'll put it in its shock mount, which I always think that shock mounts with microphones are the most visually interesting things, just because they have, you know, they are visually interesting. And so a lot of times if I'm using a microphone that has one, that's what I will use in the thumbnail, just because it, I don't know, it kind of grabs attention because it just looks, you know, look at, compared to just the microphone standing there, this looks like, you know, a device, a more complicated device. So same thing, I will come back here, get some shots of that. We could even do, this might be too much. Sometimes it's fun to like add in some XLR cables just for more color and texture. Skaboop boop. I don't even know if this is going to look good or crazy. Actually, that's pretty sweet, adding in the extra colors there. I don't mind that at all. No, I don't want to top down. We will get the front of the mic, kind of a close-up. Something like this could actually be a cool thumbnail if I were to put text on the left there. So we'll do this kind of with thumbnail in mind. Yeah. Sometimes I wait till the RGB lights get the colors I like the most, and then, yeah, there we go. That was actually pretty sweet. I didn't mind that. And then we will put this one up on its stand. Now I wonder, I'm having another idea as well. So we'll put that there, and we'll probably add in. Sometimes I like to have the microphones plugged in when they're on stands like this, and sometimes I don't, but when they're plugged in, then they look like, you know, I don't know, it looks like it's being used because it's plugged in. So it kind of makes sense to me. There we go. And I'm gonna grab another light. There. I kind of want more, we'll see. I want more light in the background, I think. I don't know if that, oh, that did brighten it up quite a bit. And then we even have that line there, which is kind of cool. I don't mind it. Oh man, this is cool. Okay, let's go. Oh yes, I am digging this. What if I move this light back here? There we go. Oh, there we are. Look at that. That's cool. And then we can even bring in, like, you know, we can go a totally different angle and bring in some different characteristics. Boom, 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 boom. We can bring in, put these lights here, shining up. And now we got this kind of going on. Which is pretty fun. And I don't think there was anything else I needed with this one. It's more just like, was there anything I wanted? Simple, simple. I don't need a ton of B-roll for these videos. Let's see now just what the 70 to 200 would look like. Knowing that it's probably going to be a little too jittery for me. That's pretty good. See how I can zoom in and compress the heck out of the background there. Oh my goodness. Might be worth grabbing a tripod. We've gone this far, why not go all the way? All right. I really like that highly compressed background look, so I figure might as well go for it. And then pop this here. Cool, and then turn it around. Yeah, okay, we're gonna get some way more usable footage now. This is just the back of my head, which is a little weird, but that's okay. It wouldn't be one of my streams if it wasn't a little bit awkward. Oh yeah, tripod was the move. Speaking of tripods, you're gonna have to move, other camera. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, oh man, now I can take more advantage of the 70 to 200 because I can basically now get really smooth. That's pretty sweet. If I zoom out, I want to get that texture in the background there. We can even do a tilt. There we go. That's pretty sweet. Oh, I forgot to stop recording. Then we can snap in here. Oh yeah, there, look at that. Dang. Boop. Now I can really show all these different controls. Let me just pan over. Dang, that looks really good. I'm proud, all right. And then just with that in mind, I might want to do something like this, just as a potential thumbnail option. something kind of along these lines. Maybe here with words on the left. And we can keep panning over, and we could even go here with words on the right. Cool. That is probably everything then that we need for right now. So let's turn this off. Let's take out the card. We can hop back over here, turn off these lights. And although those in the background could actually look pretty fun. That's pretty cool. I'll save their battery power though. What for? I don't know, but we'll save it. All right, let's look at some of this footage. Pop this back in here. All right. Clip. View by icons, because it's so iconic. And oh, I didn't do the quick look. Oops. We won't go through every shot, obviously, but well, that's just File Explorer. No, thank you. That's not the one we want. We want quick look. There we go. There we are. Can make this a little bit bigger. All right, so we can go through a few of our clips here that we just took. There's the cables. It was hard to balance the mic on the cables, so it's a little bit crooked, but I don't mind that, especially if you think of maybe potentially for a thumbnail or something along those lines. That's pretty cool. What do we got here? Here's a close-up of the directional controls. I like that. See, what's really cool, what I like about this setup a lot, and then look at this with the foreground and the background and the central subject. What I like about this is I could have this one setup right here and like 3 different backgrounds basically, which have 3 totally different vibes, and that's pretty cool. That's the old, not old. This is all new footage that I haven't even saved yet or imported, but that's the one we did before. I'm also pretty happy with how this computer is handling streaming and playing back 4K 120 footage, because that's not an easy thing to do. This is a good shot. Pavo tubes look nice in the background. How about here? Ah, yes. See, this is very good potential thumbnail stuff, and that's also what I think we were doing here. Yeah. Oh man, look at that with the 70 to 200. The way it just smooshes the background and obliterates the lights. This microphone could definitely star in its own K-drama for sure. Oh, here's our tilt down, which usually I would cut to, like when it's almost done, I'd probably cut to that here and be like, the Warm Audio WA87 Junior is like, you know, gets you in the ballpark of the Neumann U87, but is it worth the price kind of thing? Oh, but look at, oh shoot, dang it. Ah, nuts. I switched my quick look. I wanted to show, I want to play with, you know, the plants and the type of lighting more, but I saw something in here I really liked. Yeah, okay. Kind of up here, you see what's happening here with the leaves and the bouquet? I want to do more of that. Like, I wish the whole thing was that. It would be amazing. So I need to keep working on it and figuring out how to do it. How to get the style that I'm going for. What's our last one? Oh, this was the one that's probably, I shot this mainly thinking it would be for a thumbnail, which would be pretty good. Oh, why is it so big? Yeah, there's the whole shot. I don't know why it was sized so strange. But see, this is a good thumbnail shot because you can have this is like a standard thumbnail. You have the subject really big, and then you can put text right here in the side that's, you know, says whatever. It could be something catchy, or it could be like, you know, like budget Neumann question mark, or it could just be like warm audio WA87 review. It could just be a label. Either way. Cool, so I got my B-roll done. That is a relief, because that's a thing I needed to do so that my videos could actually be finished. Let me turn off all these lights and save their batteries. What about this one? This one can go off. This one can go off. Cool. Thanks for thanks for letting me do that on stream. And now we can hang out for a little bit, and then yeah, hang out for a little bit. Let's see here. I'm sure I missed a few things. We'll go through. I'm going to catch up on comments if they're not directly related to B-roll footage filming. That is completely okay. I totally get it. Let's see. Seems like the mic mini is becoming popular. I've been using the mic mini, and it's great. A bit of sweetening and resolve Fairlight, and the results are amazing. Yeah. I haven't had to do too much with the Mini's audio. Sometimes I run it through Adobe Enhanced Speech just to like polish it up a little bit, but it is a good like straight out of microphone audio. Ryan Runs, what's up? Cameras that don't have to move are the best. If I could just buy a new camera instead of moving one, I would do it every time. Just while yes, you were talking about the locked down camera that I'm using right now versus like the cameras that I set up every time for different things. Also picked up mic mini with the mobile receiver and planning to use it inside OBS. Yeah. Do you need EQ? Maybe. I don't know if I've added when I've used it as a streaming mic. I don't know if I've ever added EQ. Definitely play around with it though, and see if it goes. How bad full frame cameras look when they are moved in any way. I think we were probably talking about there. Is it talking about rolling shutter? Because that would depend. Like the Sony a7S III that I have, the FX3 that have 12 megapixel full frame sensors, you know, moving those and that kind of thing is very different than moving even like this EOS R with a 30 megapixel, or, you know, the a7 IV, a7 V with 33 megapixel sensors. The higher resolution, the more pixels, that's when you get the weird jello rolling shutter effect, which is why, you know, a lot of people were like, when the FX3, a7S III came out almost 6 years ago now, which is crazy, people are like, why are they only 12 megapixels? And it's like, well, because you have zero rolling shutter, and especially at the time you had zero overheating, you had better low light performance. So those cameras are pretty dialed in for like video use specifically, versus a more hybrid camera with a higher megapixel sensor. Yeah. You could get kind of, because I think I saw Ryukin say, with limited resources, I could achieve similar feel. Yeah, the thing you can do and could do with camcorders is a lot of times, I'm just going to older camcorders, that's what I talked about. Like growing up with camcorders, shallow depth of field was very hard. A shot like this is a fairly wide shot. This is 35 millimeters, and I have background blur. That will not happen on a camcorder. Everything will be in focus like an action camera. But on a camcorder, if you max out the zoom, they usually have pretty decent optical zooms a lot of times, at least like 20 times, if not more. Then you can get some nice background blur and separation, but you have to max out the zoom, so then the camera usually has to be like I've done it in here with camcorders before, I've tried to do that, and I've had to literally like open the door to this room. There's a laundry room across the hall, and I've had to like put the camera in the laundry room, shooting at an angle through like 2 doors and across the hallway to get in. So not as convenient, I guess you could say. Have you switched to editing on PC or still Final Cut? I'm still Final Cut. I have Resolve on my PC, but I just like Final Cut. What I do, the things I edit the most on the PC is really funny. I use Clipchamp because when like my wife and her friends are playing games, you can press Alt F10 and just like capture the last minute or however long of the game. So if something funny or interesting happens, you can do that. You can capture it. And then usually that happens like, say we're playing something like Lethal Company, where something happens, I have died. If you die in the game, you kind of just wait in this like dead lobby until the next round starts. So while I'm waiting there, then I will take the clip that I like screen recorded and put it into Clipchamp, and then edit out the part and then like upload it to the Discord so that by the time I'm revived, the clip is already shared. It's like really fun. It's like a really good workflow. Thank you for saying the shots look nice. Hopefully they're good. I have one of those lights. You have like 40. I have more Pavo tubes than any human needs, but it's great. I'm not complaining, but I definitely don't need more. Let me count. Let me count the number of Pavo tubes that I have. Okay, 1, 2, 3, because there's one back here. There's 2 on the floor there. There's a dog barking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Dogs are going crazy for the Pavo tubes. 12. Congratulations. 12, 13, 14, 15. And then my wife has a couple. Yes, so I've got like 16. Sorry, there was a... I have been updated. I have received breaking news. There was a mosquito in the house, and my wife killed it and was celebrating. So that is actually big news because that's terrible. That was a big one too. So the 16 Pavo tubes. Oh, plus those 2 big ones. 17, 18, plus that one, 19, plus hers. Okay, 20, which is crazy. But I bought a number of Pavo tubes, and then a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now, I did a sponsored video with Nanlite, and I'm usually pretty clear on like not accepting products in exchange for sponsored things because you can't pay your bills with products, right? And so I gave them my rate for the sponsored video, and they said it was too high at the time, but they were like, we can do basically like half that rate plus the other half in like, instead of paying you, you can just go through the catalog and tell us what you want worth that amount. And I was like, okay. At the time, I did not have a whole bunch of lights like this. So I just went crazy, and that's where I got like these weird adapters to hold stuff like this. And it was insane. Like it was so many boxes that showed up. But now it's like, I don't need, every once in a while, a lighting company or even Nanlite's like, hey, you know, interested in reviewing a thing? And I'm like, I just don't need more lights. Because I didn't just get Pavo tubes. I have a bunch of 60-watt lights. So that's where they came from. So anyway, that's why I have so many. And I really like them, and they're awesome lights. So, and to be fair, I did buy several of them before the sponsored video thing. It all looks like Christmas and delicious at the same time. I like that. Use Super 35 crop for macro. Yes, the A7S III isn't as, well, it's not capable of doing that. The A7 IV, I should have maybe even switched to this because its 4K 120 already has a crop, and then I could potentially even crop in. No, you can't crop in 4K 120. You can't use the Super 35 for 4K 120. But its 4K 120 already has essentially a Super 35 crop, which is cool. I don't have a macro lens, but yeah, I just kind of get by with these. I'd love like a 100mm macro lens. Oh, Nil's saying the model number wasn't in focus. I'll have to check the footage. If not, it's no big deal. But what's cool with 4K 120 is as long as it was in focus for like half a second or a second, that's usually enough footage to like actually use as a B-roll shot because it ends up being slowed down 5 times. How is the bokeh so strong? That is using the longer lenses, the 85, the 200, and then having not just light sources in the background, but like the PC with its, its RGB and stuff. And then the thing that the plants do is they break up the lights. So I actually just took that plant out of our guest room. So here's a plant, and here's a light. And well, here, I'll set the light here. So if I just had this light, I mean, you can kind of see, right? It's focused on me. I really like this rim right here. The light is blurry, so the light has a little bit of bokeh. But if you take something like a plant and you put it in front of that, or anything to kind of like distract, there we go, to kind of distract the bokeh, the light a little bit, or break it up a little bit, Now that one single light is giving me all these different like little orbs of bokeh, which if this were like a tighter shot, if I were using the 85mm lens here, this would look, you wouldn't even be able to see that it was a plant. It would just be green and white and circles and things. And yeah, so that's kind of the trick. Put a light source and then put layers of things in front of it to just let little bits of light poke through, and there we go. Do you stabilize them in post usually? I would say most of the time. Most of the B-roll shots have stabilization, even if they don't really need it. I just figure like it kind of helps. If they're too jittery, then the stabilization does weird stuff and I don't use it. But for the standard ones, they usually look pretty good straight out of camera. And if you add in stabilization, then it looks like you're using a slider or a gimbal or something. Does my 70-200 have stabilization? It does. Look at that. This is the original, or the Mark I of the 70-200. Sony released like a Mark II a year or two ago. Welcome to Tom Buck B-roll Masterclass. Yes. I don't know if that was helpful, but that's essentially, when I do B-roll that's product related, that's pretty much how I do it, is I usually come up with some kind of setup that I want to use, lights, angles, whatever, and then I just get different, I just oftentimes will have the A7S III, this is not the A7S III nor the 85mm lens. Normally I will have the A7S III with my 85mm lens on it for like close-ups, and then I'll take my FX3 with my 24mm lens on it for wide shots. I didn't show it in these because I specifically was trying to bokeh the bejesus out of the background. But having, let's see, I can probably do it with something like this. Like getting a wide shot where you see the whole product, it's pretty wide, but the background is blurred out, looks pretty sweet. Kind of wishing maybe I had played around with that a little bit, but I didn't. It's okay. What is your aperture, shutter speed, ISO for that super close-up shot? Yeah, I wish I could have shared the camera settings with you, but when I share the camera settings through HDMI, it turns off the computer screen. The aperture is just wide open on both lenses. So on the 85, that was 1.8. On the 70-200, that's 2.8. The shutter speed, when you go into 4K 120, shutter speed is 1/125. And then the ISO, I changed it a little bit, but it was for the 2.8 was at 320. And when I was using the 1.8, it was 160, because I could take it down a little bit. If you want to smooth up the panning shot, tripod head handle inside. Oh yeah, that's right. I've done that when I do not slow motion, when I'm doing regular, like 24 FPS or whatever. I've done that, and it's like it eases it in and out. It's such a cool little trick. Yeah. How taxing is it on the system? I imagine the computer play 10 4K 120 streams. 4K 120 footage, because especially I have like max bit rate, it seems like that was something that when I had my old, well, that was actually why I upgraded from my Intel MacBook, was because it just was like dying. Like the Intel processors were not doing it. And then I switched to the M series stuff and they handle it really, really well. But my PC, like, I don't know what the equivalent of like an M1 Max on a PC GPU is. I don't know if the footage, I don't know if this is more GPU intensive or CPU intensive or both. But my computer handled it just fine, which is great. What's up? I have a MacBook Air M2 and want to do live streaming classes with guests and a tab for a PDF book. I'm wondering which upgrade. Oh, so I don't think you even need to upgrade, honestly. And because I'm not using my Mac right now, but my main MacBook, granted is the MacBook Pro, is an M1 Max. So I think the M1 Max is more powerful than the M2, but I also had the M1, just the regular M1 Mac Mini, and up until I put the PC in here, that's what I used for all my streams, that's what I used for podcasts, that's what I used for everything. So I think your Air, like you actually might be fine to just use the Air. The biggest limiting thing on that would be the number of ports and things you can connect. So if you can get like a hub or an adapter or a dock or whatever that has more like USB connections, then that would be the way to go, I think. Have you tried the Hollyland Lyra? I heard it's almost as nice as the YOLOCAM S3. I haven't. I have the Hollyland Venus Air, which we talked about last week, and it's good. but it could be better. But it's also more expensive. It's like they're more like $500 things. So I don't know if the Lyra is less expensive than that. I was trying to bring up a browser window to see. Whoa, what are we doing here? Let's go to browser. Let's go back to, there we go. Let's see. Hollyland Lyra. Okay, yeah, more regular webcam, 150. Okay. The YoloCam S3 is 200. This is $50 less. I'd be curious to know if it looked as good. The S3 looks so good. It's such a good-looking webcam. Ugh. Every time I use it, I'm just like, I can't believe this is a $200 webcam because it's crazy. Sorry if your dogs went crazy because of our dogs. That is a thing. What's up, Mr. Robbie in Switzerland? It's pronounced Jim. I just use the Philips tube light and run the wires. Yeah. I mean, there's the other thing too, which is crazy, is when I got all my Pavo tubes, it was right before like everyone started releasing tube lights, and now you can get like Godox and Newer and all these like way more budget brands, like, you know, for $50, $90, you can get like some pretty decent tube lights and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I got all these before those existed, those options existed. But the Nanlights are also excellent, and I've used Nanlite lights for many, many years, so it works a long time. Mr. Robbie has 2 ring lights and Govee string lights. Ring lights would actually be really fun for the bokeh effect I'm going to right now, because just the shape would work really, really well. The A7S III can use, yes, the A7S III can use 1.5 clear image in 4K, but not when you switch to, sorry, that's not it. Not when you switch to S&Q mode. Let me just double check here. Because S&Q mode, it won't let you do any cropping. Unless I'm wrong, I'm thinking of the A7 IV. Yeah, it says this operation not allowed in 4K 120 mode. But 4K regular mode, yeah, totally. Which is cool, because I don't know how they do it, and you don't lose quality, which is great. Mac, what's up? Great stream, hanging out with Heather and Kat in the Momentum session. Oh yeah, that's cool. You guys are doing that right now. That kind of, I guess that maybe brings us to the end. If you got any last comments or questions or thoughts before we wrap up today, feel free to drop those in the chat. Otherwise, I'll probably bring this thing in for a landing here. It was fun. It's fun to do live streams where you hang out and chat, but I thought today it'd be fun to have like an objective to accomplish. And we accomplished it, which is great, because that makes the rest of my work time very easy. So, yeah, so I appreciate that. I'm just waiting to see. There's like a 20 to 30 second delay. So when I'm like, hey, if you have any last questions, I want to make sure I let time pass so people could ask them. And then if not, we can wrap it up, which is totally fun. What else was there? I was going to do something else on a stream. Oh, I have this thing. It's called lazy lighting. I posted about it on Instagram a while ago. It's simple projection mapping using any projector and an iPad, and it's awesome. You can projection map over different shapes and stuff, and I've been wanting to use that in the background for B-roll shots. So maybe next time I do B-roll, I'll do that. Yeah, Niels paid thousands for KinoFlow lights before LEDs were a thing. Oh my gosh, yeah, and halogen lights is crazy. I was late because I was out. Great to see you again. Absolutely. Caleb says, hey, here's a question. Do you think getting separate video and photo cameras could be worth it, or stick to a 6600? I have both. My A7S III and my FX3 are video cameras. They can do photos, but I use them basically just for video. And then my A7 V is my hybrid photo video camera. And they have different strengths. So although the gap between video strengths is much smaller between the A7 V and the other cameras, the biggest one for me is that the 4K 120 is cropped, but that's really not a big deal. The other thing would be potentially rolling shutter, which is not really an issue for me and the type of stuff that I do. So in my case, like if I had to only use A7, like if I had to replace all these with an A7 V instead, I could pretty much totally get by, except the FX3 has the awesome audio handle. So I think the gap between photo and video cameras is smaller than it's ever been. In your case with the A6600, that's a pretty sweet hybrid camera. I would keep that, and then if you you know, if you wanted to lean more, if there was something you wanted to get that was a more video-centric camera, either for controls or features, then grab that. Or if you wanted a more photo-centric camera, like, you know, the A7 IV has the crazy autofocus and shutter speed or frame rates and stuff, you know, then that's the way to go there. So I think either way, it just sort of depends on what you need out of it, how much you use video, how much you use photo, and all that kind of stuff. So that was a fun question to end on. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm going to clean up this mess right here. Thank you for being here. It's 2 a.m. over there. You need to go to bed. Other people need to get back to work. I need to eat lunch. So appreciate you being here. I'm going to do my little outro, which has a minute-long thing, so everyone can say goodbye in the chat. And then I'll see y'all maybe next week for another stream. I always kind of play it by ear, but this is like the 4th or 5th week in a row we've been doing the Wednesday streams, which has been super fun. So all that being said, thank you for being here. Hope you have a safe, happy, healthy, fun rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.